Good evening, everybody. Majir Pack 2 speaking. Today I have something a bit different to show you, so I'm going to give a quick little introduction and then I'll get right into the game. Some of you might be familiar with my replay flipper tool, and what this does is it takes a replay and it generates more replays, one for each player in the game, so that you have one replay from each perspective, from each player's perspective. So that means that you can see the other player's sensors view and tech choices, and when you're in the replay, it's as if you had been that person when you were playing the game, and therefore you got the replay from their perspective. And the tool also adds this little H onto the player's name so that you can see easily in the replay browser here which replay and which player the replay is from the perspective of. So Sinistro has been using this. It's a little external tool that you drop the replay onto, and it spits out a ton of replays and renames the replay with a nice format so that you can see easily from the replay name what's going on, what map it was played on, all that fun stuff. So this isn't about that tool, but I'm going to launch into a game here from Payday's perspective here with a little H. And the reason I mentioned that tool is because that tool was really created so that we could see tech choices. One of the limitations in DoK is that in the replay viewer, you cannot see the tech choices, the research choices of any player other than the person you're watching the replay from. So this is Payday's character here doing a little dance, and I can see his tech choices. But if you click on any other carrier, you're just going to see, whether it's an allied carrier or an enemy carrier, you're just going to see the same tech choices of Payday, even though the power view over here, and I believe even the production view, although I'm not sure about that, but definitely the power view updates to show the different power levels of the different carriers and how the power is allocated and everything like that. We can also see things like the production of other players here and the resources and things like that, because all of that data is available to us in the replay. We can see the other players' ships, but we can't see tech. So what I'd like to show you today is I fixed that. You can see tech. This is my carrier, and I'm a Knef carrier, and I have a completely different tech tree than my ally Payday, and so we can see that I'm using sand skimmer fabrication there. We can also go over to the enemy team and see their tech choices. We can see that they have both researched LAV fabrication, and that neither of them have picked... Oh, there we go. We can see that Ian here has picked AAV fabrication, and Tren has not yet, but I'm imagining there you go. He's going to right after. And so we can browse through these techs. We can see the different upgrades that are available here, because we can see that base runner inventory is available for Ian as the coalition player, but not available for Tren as the Soban player. And just to show you again, it does work for different tech trees. We can see the Galcian tech tree over here and the coalition tech tree over here, and it all just kind of works. Mostly. There are some subtle issues with this. Notably, as you start flipping between, you might notice some spacing issues in this bottom view. It turns out that in DoK, the top engineering window is handled by code that's really completely different and very different from the upgrades code. So that was interesting to find out. Here you go. You can see the little spacing issue. I found it's mostly solved by just clicking away and re-clicking on it. So not really a big deal, but just one of those little quirks that can pop up, and maybe I'll figure out how to address that at some point. But at least for now, it does the job. You can see what people are researching. You can see what they have researched, so this is handy because we can tell both based on the available text, but also what texts are not there, which technologies the player has researched. It's not quite an entire full list of all the technologies that a player has researched yet. That's something that I considered adding, but it seemed like a bit more work, and it would be a little unnatural, because what people are used to is clicking on a carrier and seeing the tech tree, and everybody knows how to, players and casters alike know how to read this tech tree and see at a glance what technologies are available to a player and what's been researched by the player. So making this work for all players in the game seemed like just a natural choice. So if you are somebody who's cast games before, or even if you've just watched replays before, in order to gain a little bit of insight into other players' tactics or your teammates' tactics or things like that, then you're probably thinking right now, great, this is awesome, where can I download it? And this video is going to mostly be about why the answer to that is, unfortunately, you can't download it. So I finished this a little over a week ago, and Deserts of Kharak doesn't have a modding API. Deserts of Kharak doesn't have documentation for modding. It doesn't really have modding. There is no real modding community for it. I haven't heard of anybody making any mods for Deserts of Kharak, or even any other kinds of tools. As far as I know, the replay flipper tool that I made is really the first stab at that, and we can see that here. It's a little clumsy, adds this H onto the player name as if that was really the true player name, but it does work, it does the job. And so without a modding API, there's really no easy way to distribute something like a mod like this. And this is kind of a mod that adds this, but it's really more of a hack. There is no clean separation between the logic that I added in order to display the different players' tech trees and the logic that BBI has for their core game. So as a result, the only way to make this work is to install DLLs that are replacing the game DLLs. These are DLLs that I modified in order to add this functionality. Now, this was very tricky. This took me a while. I'm not going to go into the technical details of how that works. Suffice to say, it takes quite a bit of effort to get working, and the results aren't always great. This is probably my fault here with the spacing. Yeah, it does fix itself again. But, so the reason that this can't be distributed is not just that, oh, it's the DLLs, because, I can just upload the DLLs, right? Well, those DLLs are protected by copyright. And as it turns out, we're not really sure who owns the copyright. I engaged BBI a little over a week ago, BBI Ian actually, who's here rating my resources currently, his AAVs, and he said that, he would go in and find out. He raised the question that, it might be that BBI owns this, but it might be that Gearbox owns this, because Gearbox owns the Homeworld intellectual property. So there's sort of a blurred line here, not really sure whether because it's BBI code, but Gearbox brand intellectual property, not really sure who has the real ownership over this, these DLLs that I've modified. And because I've modified them and not just added new ones, this would constitute distributing a derivative work, and that would fall under copyright law, at the very least in the US and Canada, which is all that we really need, because I live in the United States and BBI are in Canada. So there's really nobody else whose laws are going to apply here, and at least not to me in the act of distributing it. And as a developer myself, I have some respect for intellectual property law, and so I want to make sure that if this tool is distributed, that it's done in a way that is correct and legal, and in both in at least the letter of the law, and preferably they'd like to do it in the spirit of the law as well. And so, at least for now, I believe that copyright law is fairly clear that just me showing this to you and using this for my own use is personal use of this information. I'm not distributing any information about BBI content. Playing a game, showing a replay is something that is generally, nobody has to ask for permission to do that, right? And so creating a derivative work and using it myself is, at least as my understanding of copyright law, is something that is permitted. But for me to distribute the DLL because of the nature of the modification would not be. So for now, unfortunately, I'm sorry, no download link. But I have engaged with BBI on trying to find out whether or not this is something that we can create an exemption for, or whether there's an existing policy for this, something along those lines. And I have some suggestions and some options, mostly technical options, for how this kind of modification could be distributed while distributed by me, I should clarify, while limiting BBI's exposure in terms of the information that's distributed to make sure that what's distributed couldn't be used to further damage BBI or really to do anything other than just let you see the tech choices of other players in a replay and other similar replay enhancements if there are other things that people are interested in. This is something that I don't know if you've seen Magpie 842's casts. If you haven't, I highly recommend checking out Magpie 842 on YouTube. Great Deserts of Karak caster, very entertaining. And if you've seen his videos, you can almost guarantee that at some point he's going to be looking at the player he's casting and saying, "Oh yeah, no, great, they're researching this tech. You know, they've got AAV tech coming. They got carrier production tech coming." And then he sort of browses over to the other carrier and says, this spiel he goes into that he always does, which is like, as a limitation of the Deserts of Karak replay engine, I cannot see the enemy player's tech choices, yada yada yada. And it's almost like he makes a point to mention the same thing every time. And it's because it's really, it's frustrating when you're trying to cast something, and the best thing that you can do when you're trying to find out the tech choices is like look at the carrier, it's in like the middle of the night too on this map, and try and find out, okay, it's like this raised deck section here, or like this blinking light or something that indicates certain tech choices. I'm not really sure what it is, but if I can just click and see, oh great, he's researching power reserve, and he's got AAV and railgun tech. Way easier to do a cast that way. And additionally, it's really confusing when you are watching a cast and you see somebody click on a different carrier than somebody other than Payday in this example, the player whose replay we're watching the perspective from, and you see Payday's tech, even though you see like Trend's carrier down here in the normal stock version of the game, you would see Payday's tech choices up here. Very confusing because it just happens whenever you click on any carrier that window pops up. So in general, I think this is a real quality of life improvement. It's one of the improvements that I have heard asked for a whole lot. At least from casters who constantly say, if only I could see the tech choices there, I can't because, limitations of the Home World Deserts of Karak replay engine. So it's not pretty, there are some spacing issues still that I would love to solve. I haven't taken some time to actually go through and solve that, but, this is not that bad. You just quickly deselect and reselect, and great, you can see the tech. The improvement is there. The proof of concept is here at the very least. So, unfortunately, I haven't heard from BBI in a little over a week now on whether or not this is going to be something that we can make an arrangement on. And I heard a little bit of communication from Ian saying that, yeah, he'd asked about it. They're still discussing, and they're busy with some things, and I fully understand that. I'm sure that the last thing that they want to be dealing with when they have a busy schedule is this guy Majir, who just wants to do this dinky thing with his replays. But at the same time, it would be great to hear back, because otherwise I'm sort of left, dead in the water here, not really sure what I can do, what to do. I do know that I can use this myself, so in my own casts, I will be using this to hopefully improve the quality. Maybe when I fix the spacing issue, it'll improve the quality of my casting of the games that I showed, because I can see the enemy tech choices and everything like that. But it would be really great if this is something that I could distribute to the community in a safe and responsible way, and I would love to be able to have some resolution around that. So if this is something that you're interested in, please let me know. You can let me know in the comments. You can get on the Homeworld Discord, and you can let me know if you'd like to discuss anything about this or other possibilities. There are some other things that I would love to work on as far as improving the replay experience. There's not as much that I'm thinking of improving for the actual gameplay experience, just because that would require both players to have an updated version of the game, and with the game community being as small as it is, I don't think it's valuable to fragment the game community any further by introducing multiple versions. But this is a version that's compatible with other players. I've played multiplayer games with this version, and it doesn't change anything when you're in the game. It just changes your replay experience. So something that some people could optionally download, and it wouldn't impact them in any other way. So hopefully I can bring this to you sometime soon, and I'll be looking forward to your comments on this. That's really all that I had to show you and all I had to talk about, and it looks like the game is going to be wrapping up here shortly with my carrier going down here. This is a game that I cast along with Dreamlands. This is from the 2 vs 2 tournament, and so go check out the co-cast that I did with him over at Dreamlands channel, and there's going to be more casts from that tournament coming soon. And until I hear more, I will probably not be posting another video about this particular tool, but like I said, feel free to get in touch with me on Discord, and keep an eye out on Dreamland's channel and here for more DoK casting. Thank you for watching.
Carrier repair systems are unavailable.
Warning, the carrier hull is at half.
Weapon range systems currently active.
Full power.